waiting for it. Okay.
Boom, we are live. Welcome to 2.5 Oyajis. This is Hiko Simon. You probably recognize the person down there. That is Victor. I don't know if you're actually seeing this the way that I'm seeing it. I assume so. And we are very, yeah. And we're very lucky, very, very happy to have our guest, Felicity Tillack, joining us, the director of the movie Impossible to Imagine, streaming on Amazon. Is it only on Amazon, or where else can people watch it streaming?
It's also on Vimeo, and Vimeo has all the subtitle tracks. So
if
you want to watch it with the English or Chinese or hopefully soon French, then that's the place to go, Vimeo.
Yeah. I must admit, I get so on. Yeah, it's a peeve I have about Amazon that it only shows like one caption track, like other services you can choose multiple ones.
They only let you use the country's native language, which was shocking to me, really. Yeah. Oh well, I have the sub tracks. But
okay, so Vimeo for people who want to watch it. So actually, I'll grab the Vimeo link. I've got the Amazon link in the video information below this. So I'll grab the Vimeo link as well. So for people who need English subtitles,
I needed it a couple times. I had to pause and ask my wife, "What does that mean?" I didn't know take. What is it? Kakehashi.
Kakehashi.
I didn't know that word. I didn't know. That
You're
word.
an English teacher for 30 years in Japan, and you don't know
that's a Japanese expression.
Kakehashi.
Yeah.
Kakehashi? I thought they were saying kakeashi, which is a different word. So chasing? What was it? This is a runner?
Kakeashi, you're just a person who links the cultures. That's like, I don't know. I get that a lot.
Oh, really? I probably heard it a lot and forgot it. So.
Hey, just shouting out the comments. We have Tai Nakamura first in line. They're very good to see. By the way, this is my first time using StreamYard, so I'm just pressing all the buttons right now and seeing what happens. But very nice to see Tai Nakamura there. We've got the J Vlog. We've got Sir Benjamin. You finally caught a live stream. Congratulations. It's great to have you on here. Sir Benjamin and Devoid. Morning from Arizona. Nice to have people from Arizona getting up early to log in and join us. And for anyone coming in, please shout out comments, questions that you've got as we go along. Just say hello. Honestly, don't be shy. It's nice to see who's there. It's nice to include that. The movie. I confess, I watched it this evening, so it's completely fresh for me. And I suppose we don't want to do spoilers, but at the same time, there's a lot to ask. So I guess the first thing, if I can lead off with the first obvious question, Felicity, I mean, maybe give the trailer, give the director's trailer of what is this thing? What are we talking about here?
All right, so it's a love story between a traditional Kyoto woman who's running a kimono shop that's running into trouble, and so she brings on board a business consultant who happens to be biracial, and they have very different worldviews, and they clash. But they begin to appreciate each other and even fall in love. And the question of the film is, can they make it work? Can they change enough for each other?
And we won't tell you what happens there, but
the movie.
Well, it's not really the conclusion so much. It isn't Star Wars. It's more the process of what happens along the path, and it is an interesting, very real, very very real sort of setting. I have to confess, one thing I found myself when I was watching it first, and maybe this is my fault that I just haven't watched enough Japanese movies in recent years. So when I watched it, there are a couple of times I found it quite jarring seeing people come into scenes where they just walk into the scene and they're not wearing masks, and I sort of I've gotten so used to that now.
Oh, right. It was done before Corona.
Recently, yes.
Sorry, well, yeah.
I had the same experience, watching old TV shows or movies, and they're not wearing masks.
Well, when did you shoot it?
I shot it in 2018. So at that time, Kyoto was full of people. International tourism was at a peak. I think that year was a record number of tourists. And the shots in the film of these places of Kyoto, like Kiyomizudera, for example, that are completely packed. And I remember I just started living in Kyoto at that time, and I never went to Kiyomizudera to visit or to go see it because it was ridiculous. You couldn't move. People would have their selfie sticks out.
Like me. Super long pole.
Yeah, it was dangerous. what's most impossible to imagine for me is how much has changed in such a short time. I couldn't have believed in a million years that Kyoto would be empty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's right. In 2018, 2019, people are talking about with the Olympics and with the tourism boom going so ridiculously huge, it was like, is Kyoto going to collapse under the weight of all of these masses of people? And people saying, don't go to Kyoto anymore because there's too many people there.
Totally.
And it was all supposed to hit this peak last year. and then it's completely stopped. So in a way, yeah, it's funny. Just like, I guess from a 3 year ago setting, that was exactly how it was. And even now it seems kind of alien almost to remember, oh yeah, that's actually what it was like.
Yeah.
There was a one or two, a few scenes in your movie though where it was empty. There was no one in the shot. And I was wondering how you got that. So I thought, when did she shoot this? Because there are some scenes where there's no one else in the shot except you guys, and you're on a busy street, or well, not so busy, but a street that I would imagine would have more tourists on it.
We shot in places that aren't very touristy. So I live in an area of Kyoto which is Nishijin, around Nijo Castle, and it's not full. Other than Nijo Castle, there's nothing really else to see. So there was a huge amount of guest houses up until recently, but most of the guests would then go back to the station and go somewhere else more interesting. So yeah, I shot a lot around this area and also around the Teahouse, which was out near Rawanji, a little bit west. And again, a very kind of urban, but what's the word? Residential. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Kind of area rather than touristy.
So let's back up a bit, of course. So I do want to talk more about the movie, but first of all, lovely to meet you. Well, I mean, what's your story? How long have you been in Japan, and what got you into all of this in the first place?
I've been in Japan since 2006, and I've been moving around the country. I started off in Wakayama, and then I lived in Ibaraki Prefecture, a little bit north of you guys, Shiga, Nara, and now Kyoto. I think that's all of them.
Yeah.
And I started making videos when I lived in Shiga, and I started my YouTube channel, which was Where Next Japan, and it was focused very much on introducing Japan to people who were interested in traveling here. And I guess that's how I cut my teeth as a videographer and an editor. And it kind of snowballed. I started doing more documentaries. I've done one on third culture kids and becoming a Japanese citizen. I think you guys have done the same topic. And around 2000,
you're a Japanese citizen now.
No, but I interviewed two people who had.
Okay,
I was interested in the process.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly when, but I started falling in with some filmmakers, and in Osaka there were a couple of people who became my friends, and everybody was making a film or a feature, and I was like, I want to do this too. So at one point I just kind of went, I'll just do it. I'll just make a film, and it'll be a learning experience, and I'll do it on the weekends. And I didn't really expect that much would come out of it, and it's kind of gotten bigger and bigger.
Wow, that's great. Amazing.
Yeah, it's been around.
So you like Hiko Simon, you studied Japanese before coming over.
I did.
So you could already get around. You could communicate with everyone pretty much. No?
I could ask questions, and then I wouldn't understand the answers. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go ask somebody else now.
I did that with Korean. I went out before I went to Korea for a visit, but we're useless. Couldn't understand a thing they were saying to me. So the story's all in Japanese. So that's why I asked that question, because did you write it in Japanese? Did you write it in English?
That's my question. Yeah, where'd you get the script from?
Yeah.
I worked with an excellent translator. And if it wasn't for him, the story wouldn't be as good as it is. I wrote the script in English, and then we would talk about, is it natural? Would Japanese people say this? For example, we were just talking before we started about kakehashi, the concept of being a bridge that connects people. And so we talked about how that is a metaphor in Japanese. But then later on, there's a scene where the main character, Ami, says something like, I'm not always going to cross the bridge. I'm not always going to be the one who crosses the bridge. And he was like, this metaphor doesn't really translate that well in Japanese. Is it that important? And I was just like, it is a little bit important. So we went with it. But other ones we changed.
I noticed you had quite a few bridges in the movie too.
Yes.
Which, yeah, no, I don't want to talk too much about that, but
yeah. But yeah, also the actors. Like when we would do rehearsals, the actors would say, "Oh, this isn't very natural. I wouldn't say it like this," or "I don't think Hayato would say it like this." So we changed as we went as well.
Yeah, the actors were from. So
tell us about them.
Yeah, Yuki Ito, the actress who plays Yuki, she's
Is it Yuki or Ami? Because I kept hearing Ami.
It's Ami. It's Ami.
It's Ami, right? But
Ami,
I saw another article where the person said it's Yuki, and I was like, "Who's Yuki?" Because I read a review about the movie, right? And it's
I think they got mixed up. Her real name, the actress,
is Yukiko.
Yukiko, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. That's
so she's been in the theater. She actually has produced her own theater productions. Oh wow! So she was perfect. I was so lucky to have her.
Yeah, I grew to like her more and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read that in reviews. How did you do the Kyoto Bend thing? Like, was that the writer, or were the actors from there? Or how did you manage that?
A mixture of both. The translator put in the Kyoto Bend, but Yuki, she's from Nara, but she's lived in Kyoto for a while.
Yeah.
And then William, so the guy who plays Hayato, so he's never acted before in his life.
Oh, really? He was good.
He was good, right?
Yeah, he was good. Well, they were both good. Very good.
But I'd seen him in modeling photos prior, and I was like, well, he's quite a natural model, and it's not something everybody can pull off. So I think he could do it. And he was also one of the people I interviewed when I was researching the character of Hayato.
Yeah.
And
you researched halves.
I did. So he and another Kyoto Hafu called Luke, both of them kind of went into building the character of Hayato.
Oh, a Kyoto Hafu. I mean, I guess that is part of the central theme of the movie, so a perfect person to talk to. But that in itself, I lived in Tokyo the entire time, but the understanding from the outside of Kyoto, how frankly, it's not even a gap to foreigners; it's to other Japanese people. Like Kyoto's kind of set themselves apart, right? So that must be an interesting experience.
In the movie, Hayato is from Uji.
Yep.
And I looked it up on the map because I had heard I've heard the place before, but I didn't know where it was exactly. But it's kind of right near Kyoto, so I thought, why is he? So I thought, why is he considered a foreigner or kind of a outsider?
Yeah, you would be.
To Kyoto people, that line is one of the most realistic parts of the film. They're like, oh yeah, people say that. Like, I'm from Arashiyama, which is in Kyoto City, and they're like, but people don't think I'm really from Kyoto. That line came from one of my good friends who's actually from Uji, and she was like, yeah, but it's basically Nara. So I was like, oh, that's going in the film. But yeah, so actually William was born in Shiga and grew up in Shiga. So actually not Kyoto, but he definitely felt that sense of, of not always feeling completely comfortable. But at the same time, William is very comfortable in Japanese and very comfortable as a Japanese person. I think there's a measure of growing into an identity as well. And Luke has said the same. Like, it's often more difficult when you're a kid, but you can kind of grow more comfortable as you get older.
Yeah.
I don't really want to put into their mouth, but yeah.
No, but I'm curious how much of Luke. I mean, it sounds like how much of talking to someone who grew up in Kyoto as a half, which to me in itself is just a fascinating background to have. Like, how much of that went into the character and into the movie?
Well, Luke described himself as the bridge, so that aspect of his character came directly from Luke. So Luke actually is an alumni of the school that I teach at. I teach at Kyoto International School, and he went there as a child. So he feels very comfortable in both worlds. He's very comfortable, and he sees the perspective of the English-speaking, English-thinking world. He actually works with American businessmen to help explain Japanese culture, but then also conversely explain American culture to Japanese workers or bosses. So he's the bridge.
And so, like, going back a bit, so I understand. So you wrote the script in English and you got help converting it.
Yep.
I have no idea. I mean, I get it if you're already making travel videos and so on, so you've got one foot in the pool there. But that idea, everybody who makes videos thinks, oh, sometime I should make a movie. But how big of a jump is that? Because that is a big jump, and a lot of people think about it.
It's a huge jump.
Not many
It's
people
on
make
Amazon Prime. It's a real movie.
I have loved writing forever. So I've been writing stories since I was, 10 years old. So I think I've always been more of a storyteller than a filmmaker. And then filmmaking is just one way of making stories, right? Or
It's the
presenting.
medium, right? Yeah.
And I think it's, at the moment, especially one of the most, it's one of the ways that people connect with the best. I've written blogs, I've written stories, but film or videos catches people's attention, right?
Yeah.
So it was a big jump. And initially, the work that I'd done with other filmmakers on their projects had been done quickly. It had been done in 4 days. It had been done in a week. And it was always so stressful, and you're always forgetting something, and you're always kind of like stressed out. So my friend Hamish, who had actually done a feature, said, don't do that. Do it on the weekend, and then you can pace yourself. You can edit during the month off, and then next month you'll know better where to start from. Or you need to reshoot, which we had reshoots.
So your dailies were actually monthlies.
Yep. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. We never were stressed. Everybody had a great time on set. We started at, I think we all met at around 8, and we got there at 9, and we're like ready to go at 9, but then we stop at 6. So it was quite a reasonable
It's still
day.
a long day. Yeah.
Still a long day.
But it's not just that. I mean, it's one thing to travel around and interview people and shoot video and stuff like that. It's totally another thing to have lighting and makeup and costumes and scheduling, like the logistics and everything, and the cost of that. Like, how did you do that?
So the scheduling was a huge part of it. I would write up massive call sheets and really break down what scenes and try to think efficiently. Okay, so we're in this room or in this location. How many shots are we going to do in this one? And then I would also set up multiple cameras, so that would cut down on time. I've been on shoots where they use just one camera and they kind of move it around, and that's better for color grading, but it's not good for time efficiency.
Right.
Then costuming, I left up to the actors. Makeup, I left up to the actors.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
They did.
How many staff did you have in total? You had, of course, 3 or 4 kind of main actors, and then a bunch of, I guess, side actors. But what about the backup behind the camera?
It really depended on the day. The very first day of shooting, it really just depended on the day. So I had different sound people. I had different people holding the boom. I had different people doing the light.
You didn't have the same staff every time.
No, I have regulars. I met my friend Shorta Wanibe on this project, and he's an excellent sound guy. And he was the sound guy for at least 3 or 4 days so we shot over 10 days altogether. But he wasn't the only sound guy I had. I had my friend Aaron, who was AD twice, but then other days a different person would be AD. It was very much volunteer based because, again, it was just meant to be fun. It was meant to be, let's make a film, but like learn stuff at the same time. And friends were interested in learning. So
IMDb says that your budget was estimated at 1 million yen. How do they know that? Why does it say estimate? Oh, you wrote that. Okay. Oh, it's estimated. So you're not even sure yourself. Okay.
No. Because there's like the core costs, and then there's things like the translations, which are pricey, and also festival fees, which were much pricier than I thought they would be.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
But the main actors, a lot of people donated their time to the film. Like some people crowdfund. My friends and crew donated their time, so that's how we could do it for such a small budget.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, that's nothing. That's less than a shoestring.
That's about $10,000 US, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
what that
that's
equates.
right.
So I'm sure
And
that's
that
not
mostly
perfectly
in
accurate.
shoe.
Yeah, no, I mean that's look. I watching that, I wouldn't have guessed that was made for $10,000 at all.
No.
Like it looks like a proper movie. It's a shame, of course, that we're not in cinemas able to enjoy it in that way. But at the same time, that looked like a polished movie. So very very well done.
Thank you so much.
I really want to know about some of the kind of maybe boring for some people, but like the technical stuff, like the equipment.
Yep.
You said you had multiple cameras. Were they all the same camera? You had
It's
different.
such a YouTuber question. What type of camera did you use?
Well, because
The
when you
Canon.
were like, you visited the girl's house who's married to the German guy, or who's pregnant with the German guy, right? Well, I assume he's German, but
That was this place. Yep.
Oh, that was that.
Actually, this room is the room is also Hayato's apartment, and the kitchen was the girl who's married to the German guy.
Okay, so because that camera looked a little bit different. It looked like, I wanted to say that's a Canon, but of course I don't know.
They were all Panasonics, but of different types. There was a Panasonic GH2, a Panasonic GH3, and later when I had when I bought it, I had a GH5. So the later scenes in the movie were GH5.
There's a GH4 back there on the sofa.
I got a GH3 back here. Yeah,
they're great cameras.
Yeah, they're great cameras. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, my colorist was not happy with me because they're all slightly different.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass if they're different.
Really difficult. So I wouldn't do that again, maybe.
Well, I must admit, if I was buying now, I'd be so tempted to get one of those Sony ones. They get such great reviews now. But yes, if you're probably mixing Panasonics and Sonys, you would get extra trouble from your colorist. There's a good question from the comments here. How does it feel making a movie to get a story across as opposed to purely writing it?
How does it feel making a movie to get a story across as opposed to purely writing it?
Which came first? Did you want to make the movie, or did you have the script and then you decided to make it into a movie?
I had the story first.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was originally going to be set up in Koyasan, where I was living, and it was going to be a story about a young woman who lived in this Buddhist village and was just expected to kind of follow on the family tradition of marrying a Buddhist monk, but then had this like one day of discovery with and realized that, you know, she had a chance to change her life, but then at the last minute maybe changed her mind or went a different direction. And then when I moved to Kyoto, I started meeting more bicultural people, and I also done the documentary about being third culture in Japan. I became really interested in identity, and I wanted to explore that. Also working in an international school, I see kids who really aren't sure of where they fit. Like their dad's Canadian, their mum's Japanese. They've never gone to Canada, but they feel more comfortable with their Canadian identity. It's very interesting. So I wanted to explore that as well. So
yeah, it is really interesting. My brother has two daughters, and the older one identifies as Gaijin, and the younger one says she's Japanese. And they get along great. I mean, and there's no like stress over it. But my son said, "I met a Gaijin at school today," and I'm like, "Dude, you're half Gaijin."
It's interesting you say that too. Like the composer Hanako Award. So she's
music was great, by the way. Music I love. I never would have thought that would be the music to choose if I just heard the music. But the way it worked in the scenes, it was great. I was like, wow, this is really working, even though it sounds very Western. At 21 minutes in, there's a montage. And it's like, I wrote it down here. 21 minutes in, there's a great montage.
Yes.
Of photos, and they're practicing with the camera for the first time. It's a Nikon, by the way, not a Lumix.
Nikon, yep. The prop camera was a Nikon.
It's a photo camera, so yeah, definitely good to get a Nikon for that.
But the music really worked, yeah. Oh, sorry, tell us about the musicians, yeah.
Yeah, so Hanako was, so she's an Australian woman, but her mother is Japanese. Grew up in Australia, but she came to Japan as an adult, and that's when she wrote the music. So she's so perfect. But yeah, she said the same thing. Like she feels very comfortable with her Japanese heritage, whereas her younger sister does not, and really rejects her Japanese heritage. And at the premiere in Brisbane, Hanako and her mother came in kimono, but the sister was like, "Yeah, I don't really feel comfortable in wearing kimono."
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable wearing kimono too.
Well,
me neither.
Hey, well, I wore a hakama to my wedding in New Zealand, and it was awesome. But the hakama rules. That's like, the bridesmaid was a kimono sensei, so that we had to take advantage.
Did you do the haku thing also in the hakama? That would have been cool.
The haka? No, that wouldn't work. The haka wouldn't work in a Japanese. That would have been really cool. You need some flexibility for that.
Okay.
By the way, there was something. So I must admit, I was watching it. I was thinking as I was watching it, something that comes up on Twitter and so on, a lot of sort of international discussion boards. The topic of appropriation comes up. How it's become a big thing in America.
Oh yeah. You're guilty. You're guilty. Well, you're canceled.
So the idea that if you don't meet an American Asian identity, that you shouldn't be appropriating this Asian culture by doing it. And I suppose on the one hand, when I was watching the movie, I was thinking, well, I mean, this is what you do in Japan. People do this, and people are respectful.
Everyone does it. Yeah.
But I thought it was actually good. You did that scene where you had the complainer come in as well, and that actually kind of shows a little bit of the nuance of that issue, I thought, as well. People who are sort of doing it for their own sort of cosplay gratification, and people who are doing it for the culture thing. I mean, a total aside, but it is part of the theme of the movie. Like, what's your take on that? It's a big discussion thing. It's a difficult topic, right? I mean, that identity and who that. But
white people care about that. Japanese people don't care.
Well, no, Asian American activists.
Yeah, but they're not Japanese. They're American activists. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a tricky question, and one that I think about. Like, I showed it to a lady who is bicultural. She's Japanese and British, and she said the thing that really struck her about the film was how foreigners come over and the commodification of Japanese culture. But then I look at my friend Atsuko, who runs the Teahouse where we set Impossible to Imagine, and she's sharing Japanese culture and the beautiful wagashi sweets and the beauty of kimono and everything with foreigners, and it's such a special experience for them. And
for Japanese, they love sharing. I mean, I've never heard a Japanese say, you can't do this, you're a foreigner, you can't put on. I've never seen a Japanese person say that.
I agree. I have also met, I remember 2 Australian women who had dressed in kimono in Kiyomizudera, and I was taking photos for them, and they stopped me at one point, and they were like, "Now, is this cultural appropriation? Are we going to get in trouble?" I was just like, "I don't think so. I think Japanese people
go to America.
You're like,
they like to share."
I'm putting this on Reddit.
Yeah, watch out.
But you know what? I mean, I suppose if you think broadly, you could think of, there are ways in which you could do it in a way that could piss people off. I mean, I suppose you have people who put it on like a yukata, for example. You get the thing where, they'll put it on with the obi the wrong way and all in a mess and stuff like that. Or if you're making fun and mocking the people in the culture, you could definitely do it wrong. Most people don't.
I think it's the spirit of which, like, if you're trying to take advantage, if you're trying to mock, then, or you're making light of something, then yeah, definitely you shouldn't be doing that to anybody's culture.
Good comment there.
I agree. Yeah, cultural appreciation. Culture is so important in Japan, and I wanted to really highlight culture in Japan, like the tea ceremony scene. Like, it's so practiced. It's so beautiful. You have to spend years learning tea ceremony, right, to get it that smooth.
I don't want to spoil the movie for people who haven't seen it yet, but I like how the father's personality. I like the father character, and he's very typically Japanese, and he surprises you, and that was a surprise I didn't see coming at all. So, and I like that. That was nice. Yeah.
Actually, overall, I mean, the movie has pleasant. I mean, it was well written. You put in some. You didn't just go straight formula. You put some twists in there. There was some. It was basically still human drama, but it was not conventional. I really appreciated that.
And you had a really good, nice sex scene. So, in case you're. No, I've never seen a sex happen in that particular situation. I don't want to ruin it for everyone, but
I believe me. I've just seen so many situations.
So many sex scenes that could happen, but in that particular very Japanese setting.
Of all the sex scenes that you've seen from 1 to 10, like
yes, I mean I've never seen that sex happen in that particular spot. Right? I mean, right? I would never. You've just made those things sexy.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm not going to say the name of the furniture, but I've never seen furniture used that way before, and I don't want to ruin it, but you really got to watch the movie, and you got to know a little bit about Japanese. But I got a question for a basic question for you. What about filming rights? Like when you were walking around, did you have to ask people's permission to film this street or this house? Yep. Oh, you did.
We did.
Oh, that's a pain in the ass, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, most of it we shot like within places that were already okay. But if we shot something particularly outside somebody's house, then I would go in and I would ask them if it was okay. If it was just on the street, you get like a police thing to say that it's okay. But yeah,
you went to the office and to the police station and said, and you applied for.
That's what you should do.
No, because I was impressed. Like, how did she do that? And even like I'm looking at in one of the scenes, you use an advertisement from a newspaper.
Oh yeah,
And I was like wondering, like, is that okay? How can she show that? Because I thought
probably not. But hopefully, it's still so indie that it just kind of
because like on Japanese TV, if there's there's a person wearing you see that I got this. What am I wearing? I got this little what's it called? What's this called?
Polo.
Polo. It's a polo shirt, right? If I were on Japanese TV, this would be like pixelated out.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like Japan is really anal about things like that. They just pixelate out everything that you get wearing a Nike t-shirt. It's pixelated out.
Especially on TV, you have to be careful of being sued, I suppose. So they're ultra careful. Like when they're walking around the street, right? Everybody's blurred around you.
Yeah. So I was wondering about that because I mean that looks. I was thinking maybe she said it's a documentary. I was thinking in my head, like, maybe she lied and said it was a documentary. It could be a documentary. Nobody could say it's not a documentary.
Nobody's pulled me up on it yet, Victor, but now.
But the great thing about the great thing about the Panasonics as well is that honestly nowadays every tourist has one of those anyway for shooting their photos, so it actually makes it. Yeah. I mean, if you had a full cinema kit, you'd have to explain probably, but it actually is quite flexible like that, assuming that's how you're shooting.
Yeah, though. Yeah, we had the tripods, of course, and we had.
Did you have a Steadicam?
I don't. I have a gimbal.
You did? Well, okay. Well, it was very steady when you're walking. You're following as they're walking on the field. I was wondering, how did she do that?
That was on the gimbal, and that was a very hot day. And poor William got heat stroke, and there were two little girls wearing bright pink clothes that kept on like going into the back and photobombing. It was a lot more stressful than that particular scene looks. It looks so peaceful, right? You're walking along the pretty canal. No, it was difficult.
Yeah. Do you know any Bito Takeshi movies?
I haven't watched any, but I know Beat Takeshi.
Okay, so he's better known in the West for his directing, but there's a movie he does called Kids Return. Mm-hmm. And one thing it's one of the first Japanese movies I think I saw, modern ones. I mean, I saw the old, Seven Samurai stuff, but one thing that struck me about his style is that he'll freeze on a scene, a still scene. Like he'll just like you did this a lot in your movie. And one thing that struck me about that style is I think it's beautiful. I think it's very artistic, but I don't think you can get away with it very often because after the MTV generation in the 80s, whatever, I feel like we don't have the patience to just stare at a maple tree or maple leaves or something, or just a shrine. And you did that a lot. And I personally appreciated that, but I was wondering, like, didn't you think? I mean, what did you think? Did you think, oh, maybe I'm spending too much time on, artistic scenes, or sometimes, I got to get the movie, this movie got to go forward.
I guess that is definitely a style of editing. Maybe I've unconsciously taken on that style. Sometimes those B-roll scenes were covering up something. So they had to stretch on.
Those are nice. I like those, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, part of the aim of the film was to show the beauty of Kyoto, the beauty of the seasons. There were some deliberate stylistic choices, like, right after the credits and the doors go and the slider, the camera comes in on a slider towards them doing the tea ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
That scene with the doors opening like that was inspired by a documentary by Ishikawa Kon, who made a documentary, Kyoto, the Heart of Japan. And in that documentary, there's a scene where he's in an imperial villa and the camera's just going through and the doors are going whoosh, 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 as the camera goes through. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I want to put that in.
Yeah. That's cool.
I like those artistic shots you did. You spent a lot of time just between scenes showing us the beautiful little scenes that I notice as I walk around. I mean, I just and I take pictures and I think no one's ever going to want to see this. I'm like thinking to myself, why am I taking a picture of this? But you put it to good use. Yeah.
Kyoto has the gargoyles, right, on the roofs, and I've never seen it anywhere else.
Oh, we have them here, but not as much as Kyoto. Oh. I'm in Nagoya, but yeah, we have them.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, but so you shoot it, you make it. I mean, how long did it take you to edit it and get it all ready?
It took a year. Yeah. From the beginning of shooting until the very final. I took it to a mini theater that one of my friends owned for the kind of final check. Does it all look good on a big screen? And then so we started in very early March or very late February, and then we premiered in March the following year. So a year from start to finish.
So that was March last year?
So we started March 2018 and we premiered March 2019.
Okay, so you got to do the proper premiere before all the drama started.
Oh my god,
it was just starting then, right? No,
2019. Simpler times. Oh yeah, so I was gonna so how did you get it distribution, right? I mean, it's one thing to make it. How did you get it? Like I'm looking. I've got the reviews page open right now, and considering that your movie is right next to like Avengers and stuff like that, and honestly getting better ratings and comments, it's pretty remarkable. Like how did you get it up here? How did you get it distributed?
So I went through a distributor called the Movie Agency, and he's Australian and he's based in Fukuoka. So there you go. And he kind of shopped it around. So he's not the one who put it up on Amazon, but he shopped it around to a distributor in the States called Bayview Entertainment, and then also one in the UK called My Productions. And My Productions is the one who's put it up on Amazon in Japan. And it's all been a big experiment. I'm basically just seeing what this process is like. But the distributor in the UK is very easy to work with. The one in the US as well. They made DVDs, which is so cool. I can't believe I have a DVD out there. It's awesome.
Oh.
Yeah. So that takes everything away. I don't have to worry about trying to get it up anywhere. I just have to promote it. So I've spent a lot of time trying to get those reviews, trying to get people to watch it and share it maybe. And so thank you guys for
That's our pleasure. No, believe me, we should be thanking you.
I really enjoyed the movie. I mean, I really did. I'm surprised that I hadn't heard of it before. Here's a crass question for you, which is why I'm here.
Victor's role.
So you got paid for Amazon Prime pays you? How does that work? Do you get a flat fee or you get paid per view? How does that? I have no idea.
As of yet, I have no idea either. So the distributor in the UK has said that so it went up in January of this year on Amazon, and it's been watched about a month ago. It had been watched 29 hours. So I'm not really sure what that equals in money terms. When I find out, I will let you know. But at the moment,
so it isn't like they don't buy your movie like a flat fee.
No.
Here's $1 million. No.
And actually with Bayview Entertainment, because they made the DVDs, when I got my first quarterly kind of financial statement, I was in the red $150. So I said to the movie agency, I was like, do I have do I have to pay this? And he's like, no, I think next financial statement you'll probably be back in the black. But they just have to pay off making the DVDs first.
Sure.
So please buy some DVDs.
Yeah, we'll put all the information definitely in the video information. I've put what Victor shared with me earlier. For now, I'll probably add to that with the other links.
I was researching you a little bit in this movie before tonight, and you did another movie before. Is that you worked on another movie?
I worked on Hamish's feature, Matcha and Vanilla. It's coming out soon. I've worked on a short film called Prince up in Hokkaido, which was a fantastic experience. And I've done like a textbook, like an English textbook drama, like a very short series, which is meant to kind of make learning more interesting if you have it as a kind of we had like a little love triangle kind of story going on. And then there'd be like a lesson point within each episode. But yeah, so that was how I cut my teeth for the narrative filmmaking. And then the next project was this one.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you have the bug? You're going to make another one now?
Yes. After I finished it, I was like, I'm never doing filmmaking ever again. That was so stressful. I was obsessed. I would come home from work and I would edit until I slept. And then I'd wake up early and edit until I went to school for months. So it was.
And you're married, right?
I am married. Yep.
Yeah,
so it was rough. Yeah, he was just like, I need time. So it's been good to have a 2-year break, to be honest. But he's really happy with the response, and so he's actually willing to be an investor in the next one. So that's good.
Nice.
Any ideas for what you want to do? Do you have a script idea or a concept you want to do?
I would like to do a sequel for this one, and I'd like to do. I don't know. I've been kind of tossing around an idea for a few years about the experience of being in Japan and how it feels like, especially at the beginning, like you're just kind of treading water a little bit. It's like before your real life's going to start, right? Especially when you come here as a young person and you're kind of just out of university and you're an English teacher and it's a lot of fun and there's other young people around, but you're not really going anywhere. I wanted to make a film like that, but kind of saying, life's what you make it. So this is your real life. Enjoy it.
In there when a long time ago when I was actually editing videos on YouTube, and I had that idea in the back of my head of if I was going to get a bunch of people and actually going to do something, and I participated in scripted projects and stuff like that. All my ideas were always that it's always like the experience that I'm sure the three of us, all of I think that first 3-year period that you're in Japan, it's such a roller coaster ride. There's so many ups and downs, and everything sort of levels out as you get used to it after that. Yeah. But if you're ever going to make a movie, it's always that time period, isn't it? When you're here and everything's. Because that's when
you could do a comedy. You could make a really good comedy that would actually, hit some chords that everyone could relate to.
Yeah, you do make so many mistakes, right? But the nice thing about Japan is that people tend to be very patient. So
it's a safe place to make pretty horrible mistakes. I think it's why a lot of people have figured out it's a good place to come to.
Here's a mistake right here. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I remember
another crass comment.
Well, yeah, she's a nice lady.
I got 2 mistakes in the other room sleeping right now with my wife. The third mistake. Just kidding, Mom. Okay. In case my parents watch this, I told my parents about you. But they can't. I don't even know if they didn't get back to me. Is this showing in other countries?
It is. It's worldwide on Vimeo, and then Amazon is the US, UK, Australia.
So they can watch it in America with English subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Yep. Well, I haven't heard back yet because he's camping this weekend because he finally got his corona shot. So my father is off. He's off to the jungle somewhere in Florida. Oh, great. Well, because he loves Japanese culture and stuff, I'm sure he'll be interested in this.
Yeah, I see US comments again on the video, some written in Japanese as well, but glowing comments on the reviews. So that's great to see. And I agree. Yes, right, you made it real.
Simon is asking for links. Simon, there'll be links in the description.
Yeah, there should be some links. There's the current Amazon and a couple of links that Victor gave me in the video information you should be able to see. But I'll add more to that after this video. So yeah, I'll put the other ones in.
I got some minor things that I thought were interesting. I had forgotten. Maybe I don't know if Hiko knows. I assume Hiko does know this. But do you know the old rumor about Ochatsuke?
Ochatsuke?
Yeah,
I wasn't familiar with that exact one. No,
I heard that before, and I was surprised that I thought that was yeah. I thought that was
I like
cool
the way it was used. I like the way that was used in the movie. That was
but
it's a nice little.
It's a typical Japanese. What's it called? Mother? What's Old Wives' Tale? Or
yeah, it's a bit of an urban myth, I think.
Yeah.
I've been told by a Kyoto woman who's been here for many generations that she's just like, maybe some people do it, but I definitely don't do that. So I think it is a bit, but it's so well known that I think that people would accept it if it was happening.
That sounded plausible. I've never actually heard it, but it says, "Oh yeah, that sounds like it could be real." Having worked in a Japanese souvenir shop in New Zealand, there is the music that you put on when it's time to close the shop, and you want everyone to get out. And I'd call it the "get out of the shop" music. We totally have that, but we wouldn't give everyone Ochatsuke. No, that would be far too much trouble.
Kyoto is a place where there are these little kind of comments, though. I remember one day I was at school and there were some mothers there who, were very Kyoto mothers, and another mother had come in and she'd lived in the States for quite a while, and she was wearing like athletic wear, like yoga pants. And the Kyoto mother was like, "Have you been exercising? Wow, do you jog? Like, what are these pants?" And the other mother, she's Japanese too, and she totally picked up on the nuance, and she just flushed bright red, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't dog. I just, was rushing to get out of the house this morning." And
that's a little bit like New Zealand as well. Like that, New Zealand's like that. People act friendly, but and the signals are subtle. But when you see the signal, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And Kyoto's like that. It's scary. Even like I now have more of a Japanese perspective, like a Tokyo person's perspective on Kyoto. But that's what I associate. Like people are kind of getting stabbed without realizing it sometimes.
I was shocked. I felt like I was witnessing like a fight. I was
Were you jogging? And if you're even from Tokyo, that's not even a foreigner thing. If you're from Tokyo, I love jogging. It's really great. They would totally like not even realize what's happening to them. Yeah, that's brutal.
It was awkward. Yeah. So Kyoto, as you said earlier, does have a reputation for being rough on any outsider, not just foreigners. Even people.
One thing that I thought was a little bit odd, if I can give you, I don't, just to be fair, not just be kissing your butt the whole show here. But okay, so Ami is, she doesn't speak English in the beginning at all, right? And she's not interested in cultivating a foreign clientele. But when she meets Hayato, the half Australian, half Japanese guy, she seems to know what foreigners hate. Like they're in the kitchen. They're in the kitchen. He goes, I like your. She's like looking around, going, "This is a nice house, good construction." And she's like, "But the ceilings are too short for you, right? Because you're a foreigner." And I love that because I'm sure Hiko knows what I'm talking about here. I'm basically all foreigners cannot. We are a different temperature, right? Like it's too cold, too hot. Nothing makes. No. Like Japanese, they in the summertime, they don't. They don't.
No insulation.
They don't put the air conditioner up all the way. We're sweating our asses off, and in the winter it's like way too hot. It's like we're boiling, and like, come on, does it have to be that hot? So things like that, I felt like, oh yeah, you understand exactly how foreigners feel. But of course you're a foreigner, so you understand that. But I love that. But what I didn't get is why did she know? Because she shouldn't know. She seemed to be too ignorant about foreigners to know things like that. But she knew, like right away.
That's a good point. Yeah, my translator was not really happy with that scene either. He was like, "Why is she so sarcastic?" That's definitely.
But I liked her. I liked her being that way. But I just didn't think she would actually know that stuff. So.
I wanted her to be obviously kind of fighting back against his pushy nature at the beginning, but it's definitely a case of me putting my words in in her mouth. Which,
yeah. That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that as a continuity issue. I suppose, but
I saw in another interview that you did, as I did my research on this, that you are interested in having a child in Japan. And so that's one of the reasons that got you interested in this whole subject.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. Right. That was one of the big things. Like, as I've been working in international schools and I've been seeing all the kids having different struggles, different reactions to being biracial, bicultural, I wondered if I had a kid, how would they fit in? And also, like, I'm Australian, and Australia's changed so much culturally since I was a kid. You know, before I was born, you know, in the 70s, the very early 70s, before that, Australia was completely white. And then from the 70s onwards, Australia started becoming more multicultural. So over my lifetime in Australia, I've seen this change. And I went to school with
Mexicans, like America, just Mexicans everywhere.
No,
I'm joking. We have.
Believe me, it's awkward. Yeah, it's awkward in Australia with that, isn't it? It has changed a lot. I mean,
it's changed so much. And I wonder if Japan might change as well over the next 20 years. So that was kind of the question, like, how is Japan's, you know, in the next 20 years, there's going to be some changes, but I'm not saying Japan has to be like Australia. And I'm not saying that in this film, I'm not going out to say this is how Japan should do it. I want to avoid that as much as possible. But I do want to know, you know, what's going to happen, because I live here and I might have a kid here. So I'm kind of invested in it. So
you've been here, 15 years. So you've actually probably been, I've been here 23 years now, and Victor's like 30 years, right?
29.
But certainly even in my time, but I would say, I remember in 2002 when Koizumi said, we're going to turn Japan into a tourism superpower. And at the time, Japan had about like 30,000 inbound tourists every year. It had like, you know, millions of outbound, but they didn't even care. And the only domestic tourism, I backpacked around Japan. And it was part of the adventure that there was no consideration for foreigners whatsoever. There was no signage. There was no, you know, sometimes they wouldn't they wouldn't even let you go and use hotels sometimes if you weren't registered with a Japanese tour. Like that's how, you know, that's how it was back in the 1990s. And when they said in 2002 that they were going to make Japan a tourism superpower, I scoffed and I laughed and I was like, this is just another Japan promising to end fax machines or something like that. But they really did it.
They did.
And no place more dramatic than Kyoto. Of all the places to flood with foreigners that you would have laughed at in 2002. I mean, Kyoto's always been famous as a beautiful place to go to, but the notion of Kyoto being overrun, you know, and having such a huge cultural shift, you're there and you've seen it. The movie is about that. So you've really witnessed it, haven't you? I mean, it's just these last 15 years has been a dramatic change.
Hiko, how many tourists in 2002?
Well, I remember at the time it was a negligible number. I mean, now they're up to like 30 million a year, and it was literally tens of thousands. I think back
31 million in 2018 before this thing.
So dramatic. Yeah, I remember the same. Like when I first came to Japan, and I went to Umeda or Namba in Osaka, you know, major city. There would be English signs around like the kind of center gates, but as soon as you like venture too far away, they just disappear, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, where am I?" That's completely changed. Everything has English signage. In Kyoto, if you go to the big shopping streets, there's English voiceovers, Chinese voiceovers, Korean voiceovers as well.
Brazilian voiceovers in Nagoya.
Yep.
On the trains,
Portuguese,
not Brazilian.
No, yeah, it has shifted dramatically from even 5 to 10 years ago. It's quite different.
Well, it's the thing about Japan. I mean, it's what I love about Tokyo is how rapidly everything shifts in Tokyo, and it's like you live in the same place and it changes around you at a speed that you can see it changing. But that's definitely happening with the culture as well. I mean, what's happening in the part of Tokyo where I'm in is now 1 in 5 kids born in Shinjuku water are international or foreign.
Yeah.
So in the
Really?
school,
That's
yeah, just
amazing.
even the public schools, you think a class of 30 kids, every class will have 6 or 7 foreign kids, just in regular schools, not international schools.
Yeah.
So even that, I mean, Tokyo is a little bit ahead of everywhere else in that regard, but it does mean at least the normalization of becoming multicultural, exactly like Australia, actually. I mean, not different to that at all.
Yeah.
It's really happening, and it's fascinating to watch it, and I've got no idea how it's going to continue. It's a great topic. Very relevant for Japanese.
I think so too. And an Australian film that really influenced my thinking on this is Looking for Alibrandi, which is a film about an Italian girl who attends like a white Catholic school in Sydney, and her like struggle to, where does she fit in the world? She has this very Italian family, and then she's in this very like waspy, school, and she's really torn by these two things. So yeah, it's growing pains of any culture in the modern age, I think. Yeah.
Wow. So, just a general question about Japan, not so much, but what? It's kind of a negative one, but what is there something that still bothers you about living here? You've been here 15 years. Just a little off movie topic, but
let me see. Not really.
Yeah, me neither. I feel like I gotta ask that question, but I'm pretty much.
You get to 15 years, if something really bugs you, you kind of, I find most people who are here after 5 years generally level out on those things. You just make peace with them. You either leave or you make peace with them and stay.
Yeah, I used
People
to say
tend to be pretty mellow.
You stayed 6 months or 5 years plus, right? If you can't hack the first 6 months, you generally leave. Yeah, I ate my first taste of natto 5 years ago, so that was like the last big kind of like hurdle I had to overcome.
I'm surprised you lasted 10 years without having natto.
That's amazing.
That was an Ibaraki, right? So you got to have it up there. That's natto country.
No, I didn't eat it when I was living in Mito. I waited until I came back to Kansai, and it's one of my regrets of my life.
You had it in Kansai? That's like nobody has it in Kansai.
No,
you don't even have to eat it there.
No.
Well, that's a shame you missed out because Mito's where it all comes from. That's where I was in Noda. I was up that way where I first had natto, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I fell in love with it, but I learned to live with it up there anyway.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories from teachers who've had it as part of their school lunches, and they weren't a fan. That would be rough.
Felicity, have you met Hiko Simon before? Did you meet him at the event?
I thought that we'd met. I feel like we've talked online before, but not.
Maybe we've met at an event.
She was at Yoyogi Park in 3 years. How long ago was it?
2015, I think.
2015. So.
Yeah.
So it's
you know what? Maybe
possible that you met Hiko, but I have to look at the photos.
I totally just came into this thinking I'm just meeting this movie director. It's going to be super cool. So yeah, maybe I'm just in the I'm not worthy mode and processing it like that. But yeah. But of course, through the YouTube thing.
To shed some light on the filmmaking process.
It's awesome that you got it done. I mean, so many people think about everybody. I think everybody who's gotten to editing good quality YouTube videos thinks if I did this for 90 minutes, I could do that. So what you've done, Victor, please go. I can tell you.
There's one thing about your movie that I really like that I didn't think I would like. And the first few minutes, you do this thing that actually this is a 360 camera. It's an Insta 360, and there's no links to purchases on this, so I don't get promotions. But one thing this camera does, the software does, is that you can tape something, and then you can clone yourself in the movie, in the video, right? And I noticed the openings, almost in the first 3 minutes, of your video, of your movie. Movie. You clone yourself
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you do it later, and I was thinking as I was watching that, okay, that's pretty cool, that's pretty hip, it's just kind of okay. This is that kind of, it's going to be that kind of movie. It was kind of all hip editing techniques, and then later I'm watching, I'm thinking,
Later,
this is very
subverted
classical.
expectations.
Yeah, your editing is very classical, very old fashioned and artistic and beautiful, and I like it. But then much later, you have this great edit where you use the same technique, and I thought it worked really well.
Thank you.
And
I'm
that
always
was really
about that scene. Like,
that was a
never
great
seen it before.
scene.
That got my attention.
No.
That was like, whoa, that was interesting.
That
Yeah,
was a great
different.
scene.
First, I was
That
like, oh, yeah.
That was a
Cameras
great
do that. First, I was like, oh, some cameras do that. No, that was interesting that they did that. But then you did it again. It's like, oh, here it goes again. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, whoa, that was like nice.
And it meant much more the second time. But you introduced it early in the video, so it wasn't so shocking. I think, I don't know, maybe you didn't even need to use it in the beginning, but it was cool in the beginning. But it was just cool in the beginning, but later it was significant. And I think you put it to good use.
Yeah, I've had people say that they wanted me to do more of that.
No. You got to keep it special.
I've had people who hated it, so it's really interesting always to talk to people about the film. Everybody has a different perspective. Everybody, something different kind of leaps out at them. Yeah, it's the best part, I think, is talking about it and hearing everybody's different reactions.
You also used black screen very effectively towards the end.
Black screen? So what's black screen?
Nothing.
Oh, I see.
That was good. At first, I thought my TV was broken. I thought, what happened? I checked the signal. Like, is this still on? Is this still working? Oh, she's saying something here. Yeah, and it worked really well.
Yeah, imagine being at the premiere on a big screen, and there's like 100 people there, and everybody's thinking the same thing. They're like, "Is the projector stop working? Is it okay?" They're turning around, they're looking at me, and I'm just like, "Just wait."
Hold on. Aaron,
it was right on the edge of like too long. Like, okay.
So Aaron's question: if you watch it on Amazon in Japan, there are Japanese subtitles, and if you watch it in America, it probably won't at the moment. But you can watch it with all the subtitles on Vimeo, and I'll put all the links for all the different ways you can watch it in the video information right after this video.
Were there Japanese subtitles not on mine? I couldn't see any Japanese subtitles in Japan. Are there?
There should be.
Oh,
There should be captions.
I saw it on my laptop. So.
Oh.
And my TV and my phone. Actually, I was just jumping around. So I watched it a couple times over 3 days. So,
well, look, we're coming up on the hour, but look, it's really cool talking to you. Congratulations! It's amazing what you've done. This is really cool, and I hope it inspires a lot of other people to do the same. And I'm really curious as much as I get wanting to continue the sequel idea, but I would love to see someone from. I mean, you have a YouTube travel channel, so, part of the community. I'd love to see someone from the community make that movie that I admit I had bouncing around in my own head about that sort of just arrived, a genuine just arrived experience, like not a cheesy, not a cliched, but a nice arrival experience. That first 3-year experience sort of a movie. I would love to see that done really well, and I would love you to do that. So I'm very excited to hear that you have ideas.
It's so hard though, right? Because there have been shows made similar to that kind of idea, and it is very easy to go down a cliched path.
Yeah, stuff.
And the experience is changing year by year, like just the situation. What you and I experience, even probably what we experience, even 6 years apart or whatever, the three of us probably all had very, very different just from the time period. And I'm sure someone coming to Japan right now is a totally different experience to what we had. But capturing that, like that is such a magical, for me, it changed my whole life. I'm sure we're all here because of that experience in that time. I would love if you could capture that in a really great way.
With that impetus, I will try my best. Ganbarimasu.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you for coming on.
Great meeting you. Again.
You guys too. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. Great questions and a lot of fun conversation.
Yeah. So look, everyone, we are going to keep making some more 2.5 Oyajis episodes. Probably going to go on to a bi-weekly cycle, I think, just to keep it sustainable. But it's actually fun to be making these again. So when we do them, they will be either on my channel or Victor's channel at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night. So this is the time to look out for the live streams, and you can of course watch them recorded. And lovely to have you on, Felicity. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, guys.
And
Great to be on.
check below for all the links. We'll add. There are some there now, but I'll add some more after. And check out Twitters and all that sort of stuff for when we're putting out the next 2.5 Oyajis. Yep. So see you later. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Great movie. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay. See you later.